In 7 places, they began to dig under his walls. And some of that digging started inside the townspeople's own houses, so nobody would see them go in. He wrote it all down. We still have the letter. Guillaume des Ormes, royal seneschal of Carcassonne, the king's own officer, and the man holding the city. The siege ran from the 17th of September to the 11th of October, 1240, but he didn't write it during the siege. He waited 2 days, until the 13th, and then told Blanche of Castile, the king's mother, everything. And you can read it tonight, Latin down one side, English down the other, on a university website. Free. There is one line in that letter nobody can pin down. He names a thing his men built, under fire, and 800 years on, we still cannot say what it looked like. Keep that in your pocket. Most of what we know about medieval timber defenses comes from holes in stone and careful guesswork. That is our reading of the evidence, not as sources. This is different in kind. A royal officer who was inside the city, writing days after it ended, telling the king's mother what his garrison built. It is one of very few siege reports written from inside the walls. Not the only one. A Toulouse chronicler covers the same revolt, but very few. So, 1240. Carcassonne is royal ground, and a young man wants it back. Raymond II. Trencavel was heir to the viscounts of Béziers, Carcassonne and Albi, and he lost a lot as a small child in the crusade against the Cathars. Those lands went to the crown under the Treaty of Paris of 1229, made under Blanche of Castile's regency. So the woman reading this report is tied to the dispossession being avenged outside the walls. Their method was not ladders, it was shovels. You are probably already asking the only question that matters. Did the wall hold, in his own words? In 7 places they began to mine strongly, whence we countermined a very large part and caused them great damage. In 7 places they began to mine. Not 7 finished tunnels, 7 attempts, and the letter narrates 5 of them in detail. 5, not 7. We are not pretending those are the same number. Under the barbican of the Narbonne gate, they dug. The garrison heard them, dug back, and threw up a wall of dry stones inside it. No mortar, no time, and held the middle. Under the north gate they cut what he calls a wondrously large passage, and the garrison broke in and took the tunnel off them. This is the basement problem. Stone walls rarely fall to stones. They fall to shovels. The only answer to a man digging under you is to dig back in the dark towards the sound. They won the artillery duel too. He set a petrary inside the barbican, and whenever the enemy crew saw its crossbar move, they ran and left their machine standing. The promise at the start was a letter that tells you what actually happened. So, the state of the garrison. It is not what you are picturing. You are picturing thin men on a wall counting the grain. He tells her they had an abundance of grain and meat to await your help for a long period of time. If it were necessary, no hunger, no rationing, a full larder 3 weeks in. That changes the shape of the whole siege. This is not a garrison hanging on by its fingernails. It is one that could sit and wait. Fair warning though, this is the defending commander grading his own homework. For his sovereign's mother, he told her, that is not the same as it was so, which leaves the other thing an emergency defense runs on. Timber. On day 1, the defenders came out and took the suburb of Gravelon in front of the Toulouse gate. And here is the line. From that we had a good deal of wood, which was a great advantage to us, not a shortage. A windfall. They took it from the enemy's side of the ditch on day 1 and built with it for the rest of the siege. And that is a correction we owe you. In our first episode, we told you this commander had a problem, not enough timber. Read the letter again, and it is the opposite. We got that wrong. It is on the record, and we are fixing it here. Wood was cheap. Wood was quick. And in 1240, wood was whatever you could carry back through the gate. Now the phrase the whole episode turns on. He lists the enemy captains by name. Oliver de Thames, the man French historians credit with running the siege. Then Bernard Hugo de Serlong, Gerald Dagnor, Peter de Fenouillet, William Strong. Then adds 5 words, and many others from Carcassonne. Carcassonne was fighting Carcassonne. The city on the hill was royal. The suburbs below were not, and plenty of people down there wanted the old family back, which is why the mining line reads the way it does. They began to mine from their homes so that we knew nothing about it before they came to our lists. Their own homes. That much is the Latin itself. That these were townsmen digging out of houses in the suburbs is our reading. A fair one, but a reading. Picture it. An ordinary front door, an ordinary street, and under the floorboards, a shaft creeping towards the wall you can see from the window. So, digging at 4 name points, an artillery duel in the ditch, half the neighborhood on the other side. Here is that promise again. This letter tells you how it really ended. And that ending is the least cinematic thing in it. There was no battle. On the Thursday evening, the 11th of October, the besiegers heard a rumor that the king's men were coming. They set fire to the houses of the town, and then, in his words, all who were in said siege fled furtively that same night. A relief force nobody had seen yet. A rumor, and 3.5 weeks of siege folds up in the dark. It had already cost the town dear. On the second day, he tells her, the besiegers killed 33 priests and clerics they found there. His count, in his own report, and the only body count in the letter. 4 years later, the official heritage body for these fortresses' records, Louis IX, had the rebel suburbs razed and their people resettled across the river. The neighbors who let him in were flattened and moved. Mining is the quiet killer of the Middle Ages, and it has one more story in it. Next time on Siegecraft, an English king, 1215, and 40 of the fattest bacon pigs, bought on a writ that still survives, to bring down the corner of a tower, which brings us back to the sentence nobody can pin down. At the corner of the city, towards the bishop's house, they ran a mine a long way in and fired it under a wall the letter calls Saracen. The editor of the Latin says that almost certainly means a Roman wall. Carcassonne's inner ring is Gallo-Roman, 3rd and 4th century, ancient, not medieval, and about 9 centuries old when that mine went under it. The defences there came down. So, in his words, we swiftly made a good and strong palisade, and above we made a good bertresca with good arrow slits, so that none of them dared to approach us on that side. Now, this channel is about timber fighting galleries, and you have just watched a commander build a timber fighting something in the middle of a siege. It would be very easy to call that a hoarding. Our structure, named in a primary source at last, it is not, and we will not. The word is bertresca. It appears once in the whole letter. It sat on top of a palisade, down in the lists between the 2 walls, not out on a wall top. And the letter never uses the words "oured," hoarding, or gallery anywhere. We know it was timber. We know it had arrow slits. We know it went up fast and it worked. We do not know what it looked like, and we could not find anyone who does. Time for what's inspection. Mining. In 7 places, 5 written up in detail, counted every time. Counter-mining. They broke into the north gate shaft and kept it. Masonry. A dry stone wall thrown up inside a barbican. No mortar, no time. Held. Artillery. 1 petrary. And the enemy crew stopped turning up for work. Supplies. Grain and meat in abundance, he says. Timber. Captured on day 1. Neighbors. Hostile. Casualties. He claims not one of his own men killed or mortally wounded in the big Saturday assault. His words, his report, take it as such. What's verdict? 9 out of 10 for the defense, and a question mark for the bertresca. His own last line is the one that stays with you. About the other matters of the landlady, we shall tell you the truth when we are in your presence. Some of it he would not put in writing. One final detail worth sitting with. Everyone photographs the wooden galleries on Carcassonne's walls today. And, as we showed in an earlier episode, that roofline is a rebuild from around 1900. The one piece of Carcassonne timber we can document from 1240 is the one thing we cannot picture. Every source is in the description, including the letter itself. Subscribe if you like your history with the receipts attached. And what says? Never trust a wall you have not looked under. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.